Chapter 5. The English come to Ireland. 1,000 years ago, Ireland had many kings, and they often fought each other. In 1152, one Irish king, Dermot MacGregor, attacked another Irish king, Tiertan O'Rourke, and took his wife. Tiertan O'Rourke was the friend of a third king, Rory O'Connor. In 1166, Rory O'Connor was made king of all Ireland. At this time, Tiertan and Rory attacked Dermot MacGregor, but Dermot escaped to England. Dermot then asked the King of England, Henry II, to help him to fight Rory and Tiernan. So in 1169, Henry's men come to England and fought Rory and Tiernan, but they didn't go home again. They built cities by the sea and big castles. For the next 400 years, English kings tried to rule Ireland for Dublin. In 1536, the English church changed from Catholic to Protestant. So England was a Protestant country, but Ireland was still Catholic. For the Protestant English there, king was the most important man in the church, but for the Catholic Irish, the most important man was the Pope. The kings of England took more land from the Catholic Irish and gave it to the Protestant Englishmen and Scotsmen. This plan was called the Plantation of Ulster because much of the land was in Ulster, in the north of Ireland. Englishmen from London built a new town in a place called Derry and called it Londonderry. In 1641, the Catholics attacked the Protestants in Ulster. They took their houses and clothes and killed thousands of people. 8 years later, in 1649, Oliver Cromwell took an English army to Ireland. Cromwell was the leader of the English after the death of King Charles I. The English soldiers killed thousands of Catholics in a town called Drogheda. England, Scotland and Ireland had a fight. The Scotland people tried to get their land back again, but they could not get Londonderry. When they attacked it, the Protestants ran inside the city walls and closed the gates. 100 days, the Catholic soldiers tried to get inside and kill them. The Protestants were cold and afraid and hungry. They ate cats and dogs and horses, but they didn't open the gates. 15,000 people died during this time, which called the Siege of Derry. So for the next 100 years, life was very difficult for the Catholic Irish. Every year, Protestants in Londonderry marched to remember 1688 on 12th of July. Chapter 6. The Great Hunger. In 1801, the Act of Union made Ireland and the Britain one country. We owned Parliament in London. For 100 years after this, Catholic Irishmen wanted to change the Act of Union, and Protestants wanted to keep it. At this time, in the west of Ireland, many poor Catholics lived on very small farms, and often they had only potatoes to eat. In the 1840, something killed the potatoes. One day they were fine, and then suddenly they were black and dead. The poor Irish farmers and their families had nothing to eat. Thousands of them died, and many more went on ships to America to find a new and better life. Some rich Protestants wanted to keep cows on their land, so they asked the ships to take the poor people away from Ireland to America. But hundreds of people died of their ships too. When the Irish people came to America, they lived in big cities like New York. Every year on St. Patrick's Day, thousands of Americans marched through New York and remember how Irish people died because there was no food. It is the biggest St. Patrick's Day parade in the world because so many Irish people live in America. When these poor Irish people died, the Irish language nearly died with them. The government told Irish teachers to use English at school. Irish is the language of Irish people, they said. A group of writers tried to keep the language. We don't want to belong to Britain anymore. We want to be a free country.